It's not a shock. I said this to you before. Everything that I've been led to believe suggested that Liverpool were willing to cash in on Nat Phillips if the right offer came in. Will this be a good move or a bad move? I don't know. We have Virgil van Dijk, we have Joe Gomez, we have Kanade, we have Matip, obviously, and then we have some youngsters. But here's something that myself and Connor mentioned earlier on. So if Liverpool do indeed sell Nat Phillips, and there are a couple of clubs, Burnley I believe one of them, Brighton, a few others who are interested, and Liverpool look like they want to do business somewhere between 10 and 15 million. Could be in the lower end with add-ons, I'm not sure. But there's two things we have to keep in mind here. Yes, look, he did really well for us last season, and he'll always be loved for that. Seems like a really, really good fella. But if we're really being honest with ourselves, he's probably not most suited to the way Jurgen Klopp plays football, the way our defensive line sits. So, if the right move comes in, you have to think of the player in these scenarios as well. Because he's going to want to go establish himself in the Premier League. He probably thought he'd be playing Championship football this season because it looked like he was going to go to a Championship club in January, and then that didn't happen. He finished the season with Liverpool. And now look at where his career could be going. He could end up a Premier League footballer on a regular basis, and I'm sure that that's something that massively appeals to him. So, yeah, look, if he does move on, you know, I'd wish him all the best and a massive thank you for what he did to help us get Champions League football, and we'll always have a soft spot for Nat Phillips. But, you know, 10 to 15 million is not to be sniffed at. But what does make it interesting, right, is if it happens, so if 10 to 15 million happens, grand. But something else that I'm going to mention in a couple of minutes makes it a little bit of a head scratcher as to why we're not signing Ozan Kabak. Because I said to you guys last night that Kabak could be available quite cheaper than we originally expected. But I've got a bit of news for you coming up later in the stream about apparently why we aren't taking up the option to sign Ozan Kabak. His style is probably more suited to a Burnley, if I'm being really honest with you. You know, last-ditch defending, deep defending, headed clearances. But if you want a more progressive style of football, you know, if you're that type of player and you want to play under a manager who wants to play progressive stuff, then I'd say Graham Potter at Brighton is a good shout. But wherever he goes, it's just great for the lad that he's going to get a Premier League move, because he showed in the last 6 months of the season with Liverpool that give him the opportunity, and he's shown what he can do. And he wasn't too bad at Stuttgart. I'd seen a few bits and pieces when he was on loan there. And yeah, look, 10 to 15 million for a player we probably would have maybe let go for 2 to 5 million a few months ago. You know, it just goes to show you what a couple of good performances in the Premier League can do for a career.